Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves Podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 55th Gooners and Gloves Podcast, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and reactions to Arsenal's game versus Everton in the Premier League. It's currently half time, so as always, I'm going to give you my analysis of the first half, and then later in the video, I'll give you my analysis of the second half. So pretty much, let's jump straight into it. So currently the game is 1-0 to Arsenal, so obviously that's great. Arsenal lead 1-0 through a Leandro Trossard goal that was assisted by Raheem Sterling. So obviously it's a good start to the game. It was kind of a jam-packed half. There's a lot to talk about. It was definitely a lot more of a full half compared to Fulham, where the Fulham game was just quite boring in the first half. This definitely had a lot more action packed into the first half. So let's jump straight into it. First of all, just to mention the team that was played. So there's definitely a lot of changes today. A bunch of our key players are on the bench, and we've had some players getting the opportunity. You know, you have Sterling playing, you have Jorginho playing, you actually have Marino in midfield unexpectedly because there's Trossard up front, so it makes sense. You know, it was expected there was going to be a bit of a rotated side. Obviously the Premier League is essentially done. Like, I think it's quite clear Liverpool are going to win the Premier League now, and obviously it's pretty clear that we've secured Champions League football, so naturally the focus is on Tuesday against Real Madrid. So understandably Mikel Arteta made some changes, and obviously there's multiple that have been made. I actually didn't expect Marino to go into midfield. I thought he'd still be playing number 9, but it's actually Leandro Trossard today, although it has paid off because Trossard did score. But let's jump straight into the first half. So the first 20 minutes were actually quite hectic. There weren't any goals in that time, but there were chances on both ends, and particularly from set pieces. Both Everton and Arsenal from set pieces were definitely looking dangerous. Everton hit the post, Arsenal had a good chance, Everton made some runs, Arsenal obviously got some shots on target. In spite of the fact that Everton haven't actually had a single shot on target this half, they were still threatening. Like, they did come forward, they did create good opportunities. Obviously, as I mentioned, they hit the post, and Dyer had a good shot, so you could definitely tell the effect that not having Gabriel is having on the defense. It's naturally a bit more shaky, it's conceding chances. Yuri and Timber is actually on the bench, so I'm not sure if he'll come on at all. Ben White actually started, which is good to see. You know, it's nice to see Ben White starting a game, and obviously we'll need Ben White in particular for that Champions League game, because obviously we'll probably want Ben White or Timber at the centre back, and then Timber or White at right back. So it's good to see that Ben White is starting, and you know, he's reached full fitness. That's good to see. But definitely Everton did create some chances in the first half. They didn't score, and as I mentioned before, they didn't have a single shot on target, but trust me, they were threatening, and we definitely do have to take them seriously. They were coming forward, and obviously I don't think they would be as threatening if our defense obviously didn't have as many injuries as they did. Obviously, you know, Timber's not starting, and obviously Gabriel, so I do think they wouldn't have had as many chances if that wasn't the case, but alas, it was the case. They did create the opportunities, and they're taking advantage. But that being said, we did manage to prevent them from getting any shots on target, which is nice. We're currently 1-0 up, so let's talk about the actual goal. So it was a good run from Sterling. He received the ball, and then Sterling plays it to Trossard, and then Trossard cuts through, and it's just a really nice, great finish into that bottom right corner. I think it's clear that Leandro Trossard really does love scoring at Goodison Park. He obviously scored the winner last year in a 1-0 win, and now he's put us ahead 1-0 up. So, you know, clearly Leandro Trossard seems to love scoring at Goodison Park, and that could be part of the reason why Mikel Arteta actually decided to put him at number 9 instead of Marino, and as we can see, it did pay off. Speaking of Marino, unfortunately, he did have a bit of an injury scare, so he clashed heads quite badly with O'Brien, and it definitely seemed like Marino got the worst of that exchange. I mean, he was bleeding from the back of the head. He was out of the pitch for several minutes. The medical team came on. That being said, he does seem okay. I personally think he'll probably get taken off at halftime and probably put on, like, he'll probably get replaced at halftime. I could be wrong. We'll find out if I was right about that or not, but I just think due to concussion protocol, I do think he'll probably get taken off. So that's just my opinion. We'll see what happens. Hopefully he can keep playing. Hopefully he'll be okay, especially for Real Madrid and stuff, because at the end of the day, he is somebody that we need, especially with his potential at playing number 9. But alas, he did have a bit of an injury scare. He did have a really nasty clash of heads with O'Brien, and Marino definitely got the worst of that exchange. He seemed okay for the final few minutes of the first half, so maybe he might get kept on, but in my opinion, he probably will just come off to kind of get the rest of the game off, and so that we can have him be okay for the Real Madrid games. But Leandro Trossard also went down a few times. It's clear that the Everton players are kind of targeting him a bit. He's definitely been fouled multiple times. He did go down a few times, so hopefully not another injury. Hopefully they can both be okay, because we really don't need any more injuries. I mean, you guys can see the effect that the injuries on our defense has had. You can see that we're being a bit shaky. Sure, we haven't conceded shots on target, but we have conceded chances, and we have conceded shots. But alas, it's a decent first half. It's a solid performance. We're 1-0 up. I'm pleased about that. It's good to see Nwaneri getting some minutes as well, Kivior, etc. It's good to see them getting some minutes in. Obviously, we still want to be winning these games, but at the same time, we do need to be resting players for the Real Madrid games, But yeah, hopefully we can go on and see this through now. Hopefully we can get a clean sheet, because I was really disappointed in the Fulham game where we actually lost our clean sheet really stupidly. Like, we were really reckless and we lost our clean sheet unnecessarily. So I do hope we can see through this clean sheet. Hopefully we can get the win. End of the day, even if the league is finished, etc., you still want to be getting the wins. You still want to be securing second, and obviously you still want to be building up that momentum for the Real Madrid games. Obviously we won against Fulham. Hopefully we can get the job done on this afternoon. But yeah, that's currently the game. Raheem Sterling with the assist, Leandro Trossard with a goal. Obviously the injury scared to Marino, the chances for both ends, the post hit by Everton. Definitely a lot of moments in this first half, a very jam-packed half, and even if it have ended 0-0, it was still a very jam-packed half and a lot took place. But Arsenal are leading, no shots on target conceded so far, so hopefully we can see out this game, get the win, and most importantly get the clean sheet, because as I mentioned before, I was really disappointed that we lost our clean sheet against Fulham, and it just feels good to actually score against Everton, because if we rewind the clock back to the Emirates Stadium back in December, the game actually ended 0-0. We didn't manage anything, so it's good that we actually got the goal this time, and hopefully we can now see it through. But yeah, I'll catch you guys for the second half analysis. A decent half overall. Arsenal lead 1-0, goal from Leandro Trossard, assist from Raheem Sterling. So hopefully now, let's see the game out, get the win, get the clean sheet, and keep building that momentum towards Real Madrid. Of course, Saka's on the bench, so I'd imagine he'll probably come on. Hopefully we can see Saka get some more minutes in his legs and get a goal. That'd be great. But yeah, I'll catch you guys for the second half. We'll see what happens. So yeah, decent first half overall, quite jam-packed, quite action-filled, but at the end of the day, Arsenal did manage to open the scoring through Leandro Trossard. And yeah, I'll catch you guys for the second half. Okay guys, here we go. So I just finished watching the second half, so I'm now going to go over what happened in the second half and kind of just go over my thoughts on the game. Unfortunately, it ends in disappointing fashion as it ended 1-1, so that's points dropped once again. Our struggles at Goodison Park continue, and yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's an unfortunate way to drop more points. Obviously, we knew that Liverpool, had likely won the league anyway, but this just carries on to confirm it, which obviously just really sucks. Not only that, but it's also a really unfortunate way to go out before going to Real Madrid. Obviously, we've got Real Madrid on Tuesday, and to be, drawing against Everton is just not ideal. So it just really sucks, and I'm sure the squad's going to be very deflated. The fans are going to be deflated, but it is what it is. So let's get into what was a very action-packed second half. So it started off in the worst possible way because Miles Lewis-Skelly gave up a penalty. It was won by Jack Harrison and scored by Iliman Ndiaye. Now, I do have to be honest, I did think this penalty decision was a bit soft. I feel like the referee didn't really check it long enough. I feel like it didn't really go to VAR that long, and in the end I just feel like, I guess I can kind of understand why the referee gave it, but I definitely think it was a bit soft, and I think we have to admit it was a bit soft. But alas, Miles Lewis-Skelly did give the referee the opportunity to make that decision, so we can't really be too angry about it. It is soft. I don't know if it should have been a penalty. It was definitely debatable, but at the same time, Miles Lewis-Skelly did give that opportunity for that call to be made, and the referee made the call. So Iliman Ndiaye scored the penalty, and Raya's penalty saving struggles continue, because for some reason, I don't know what's happened with Raya's penalty saves, because back in the game against Porto last year, and also the game against Atalanta, he was really, really sharp and making great penalty saves. So I don't know what's happened to his penalty saves since, but ever since the FA Cup, Raya's just had absolutely no confidence in penalty saves. Obviously, we know from the FA Cup shootout that he was really poor in the penalty shootout, and today again, literally before the referee even blew the whistle, he dived, and so Iliman Ndiaye was able to easily put it into the bottom right. So yeah, it's really unfortunate to see. I don't know what's happened with Raya's penalty saves, but I definitely think that, heading into next season, Raya's really going to have to do some training on penalty saves, because again, before the referee blew the whistle, he already dived. There was literally just no chance for him to save it. But Iliman Ndiaye scores it. Jack Harrison won the penalty. Iliman Ndiaye buried it, and so it was 1-1. At half time, it was actually Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli who came on in favour of Nwaneri and Sterling, and to my surprise, Marino did actually stay on the pitch and went the full 90, so that is encouraging to see. That probably shows that his injury wasn't too serious, which is good to see at least. So good thing that he'll be available for Real Madrid, because I really did expect him to come off in the second half due to concussion protocol, but the fact that he didn't shows that he's probably okay and it wasn't too bad, so that's obviously something that's good to see. We also saw Timber coming on as well in favour of Ben White. Understandably, Ben White isn't quite able to do 90 minutes just yet, but it was still good to see Ben White get a start. But yeah, just a really, really poor way to start the second half. Obviously, Miles Lewis-Skelly giving up the penalty and then us conceding immediately. And you could see that it instantly rattled us a bit, because for the next like 10 minutes, Everton were creating opportunities. They were kind of all over us for a little bit of time, to be fully honest with you. They got some shots on target, and you could just see that penalty decision did rattle us a bit. And then obviously they scored it, and so they were able to get onto us a bit. Obviously, I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of fouling from Everton, time wasting. One thing in particular that was kind of annoying me is that O'Brien kept running in front of Raya every time Raya went to take a goal kick, or it was either Branthwaite or O'Brien, one of the two, but they kept running in front of Raya every time he wanted to take a goal kick. Aside from that, lots of fouling, lots of time wasting, but end of the day, we can't really hate on it too much. It did get them the point. End of the day, they obviously, clearly they wanted a point, and they got a point, and I guess fair play to them for that. But the tactics were definitely annoying. I did definitely feel that the referee was definitely in Everton's favour today. I mean, he was just giving a lot of stuff Everton's way, not really giving stuff our way. Everton were committing a lot of fouls that they weren't getting booked for and stuff, and I definitely felt that the referee was on Everton's side today. But it is what it is. It swings and roundabouts. This is football. Sometimes the ref's on your side, sometimes the ref's is on the opposite team's side. But alas, they scored. So carrying on, as I said, for the next sort of 10-15 minutes after the penalty, Everton were definitely on top of us. They were there, they were creating good chances. They were getting forward, and they were doing quite well. But I definitely think we created our own chances after that. I think after we kind of calmed down from the whole penalty thing, I think we definitely created chances, but unfortunately we didn't end up converting any of them. Trossard had a really good chance, which Pickford made a brilliant save for. Rice had a really good opportunity. Rice took a really good free kick, which Pickford made a great save for. So I definitely think that Pickford had a great game today, and it was the same as the Emirates. I don't think that Everton's defense was like overly good. I just think that Pickford was simply so good that we just couldn't quite get through, and that was the case at the Emirates as well. Back at the Emirates, Everton did give up a lot of chances, but Pickford had a fantastic game, and that's what happened today as well. They did give up a lot of chances. We got good shots on target and everything. Pickford was just really good and was able to make the saves and make the good passes when necessary. So yeah, Trossard had a good chance. Rice had a good chance. Marino had a really good heading opportunity, which unfortunately he headed really wide, which was quite annoying to see because it was a really good opportunity. And there were several other chances. So it's one of those games that's unfortunate. It's more points dropped, and obviously Liverpool's big rivals Everton have taken them one step closer to the title. Obviously, it's really unfortunate, but alas, as I said before, we have to believe in Arsenal heading into Real Madrid. End of the day, I know that a lot of Arsenal fans are going to think we're just going to get destroyed and everything, and I can understand why. Obviously, our defense is weakened from our injuries. More of our attackers are getting injured. Obviously, we just drew to Everton now, but end of the day, we just have to hope that we turn up. Arsenal has been really good in the Champions League this season, and we've definitely seen examples of teams in the past who were doing poorly in the league but then went on to turn up and even win the Champions League. I mean, take Chelsea for example in 2012. When they won their first Champions League, they were 6th in the Premier League. They weren't doing well at all, but in spite of that, they turned up in the Champions League and they were able to go through despite being the underdogs in most games. So we just have to believe. It is what it is. It's really unfortunate. It's an annoying way to drop points, and it's an annoying way for us to have our final ever game at Goodison Park, but it is what it is. Everton did well. I definitely felt the referee was a bit in their favour today, and they got opportunities, but they took their opportunities, they did well, and they were able to get a point, and for that, you just have to say congratulations to them. But alas, we move on. So that was kind of the main stuff that happened in the first half. Lots of chances on both ends. Obviously, the penalty being conceded. Lewis-Skelly eventually came off. And Tierney came on, and to be fair, Tierney I thought was actually quite good when he came on, created a few good opportunities, some really good crosses, got a really good nutmeg. So Tierney I definitely felt was very good today, and he definitely did well in the time that he was given. I got to be honest, I think Saka didn't really have a good game today. Obviously he came off the bench, but Saka's not perfect. End of the day, he is only human. He's going to have bad games, and clearly he's still getting up to full fitness. So yeah, Martinelli was okay, I guess, but just didn't, definitely nowhere near as good as he was against Fulham. But end of the day, this just is how it is. I think probably in terms of man in the match, we'd probably have to give it to Trossard. Aside from the fact that he scored, he was also the one who was getting the most opportunities, getting far forward, getting shots on target, etc. But alas, that wraps up my analysis of this game. A 1-1 draw, a disappointing way to drop points, but to be honest, not entirely surprising given that Arsenal and Everton are the two teams in the Premier League with the most draws, so them drawing twice against each other is not particularly surprising, especially when they're literally the two teams with the most draws in the league. But alas, we move on to Tuesday now, on to Real Madrid, a massive game that we're just going to have to believe. I've got belief in the squad. It's going to be really tough, especially with our injuries and the fact that we're obviously not in the best of form, but we have to just hope. We're going to have to just do our best, and hopefully we can somehow pull something off across two legs. But in any case, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Tomorrow, I'll be releasing my reaction to the Joyce versus Hergovic fight, so I look forward to that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you guys on another podcast soon. Please let me know what you thought of Arsenal's performance against Everton. Do you agree with me that the referee was a bit biased to Everton, or do you just think that we were just poor? Please let me know. But in any case, have a great day. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you guys on another podcast soon. Bye-bye.